Do you think that this generation is too oversaturated with content? I do think so, yes. I do think everyone is trying to become the next Mr. Beast, the next Kai Cenat, streamer, Speed, and it's losing its authenticity when it comes to the ideas and how they want to present themselves and to be something original and different along with everyone else. And I do think that oversaturated with a lot of people. And, I remember in the 2010s and the early 2000s of YouTube and just everything in general, just social media, you have to be unique and different. You can do anything you want, which you still can. Like animation, I grew up within 2000s. What got me into YouTube and all that was Lego animation, stick figures, and just seeing how creative someone can be on Newsflash and Newground Cinemas, all that stuff. It was really unique for its time period, and I remember just seeing that and just wanting to be a part of that, and then getting into the video games, like Angry Video Game Nerd with the commentary. I always thought that was super funny growing up watching that. And for a long time, like, YouTube was just this creative space where you could be anybody and do anything you want, and then people can just flock towards you. But over through time, I say after the Leafy's Here saga, which was in 2016, when everybody was doing the same gameplay loop where they do a reaction off a certain event that would happen. Like Optimus was doing that, Leafy was here, and a whole bunch of other channels were just documenting stuff. And they had like this low form content where they had some video game playing in the background, and either just talking about drama and stuff, kind of like what I'm doing here. But it was just it was different. It was more everybody was just doing the same thing at that certain point. But it got to a point where after that, 2018, that's when you had all these clout chasing people and rappers and all kinds of. That's when Twitch and streaming, and especially after the pandemic, was starting to really blow up. And it's a lot of deals and brands that go into it. And so the way that YouTube is monetizing everything now is just so different, and it just puts on this immense amount of expectation when it comes to video making. And for a long time, or it's been a long time, that YouTube hasn't really been the same when it comes to that. It's just been different. It's been something where you have to really stand out, but also be consistent at the same time. It's not like you can just join and do whatever. You have to have a niche. You have to have a target audience. You have to know what you're doing and know what you're talking about, and have a demographic so people can relate to you and come back. And also consistency too. And one of the main things is how different the algorithm is. And every social media, I'm gonna start off with YouTube. I remember when YouTube first came out, I was there from 2005 and 2006. I was on there 2006 on YouTube, and I remember there was this star system where you get to rate the videos. If you guys ever saw that before, that was a feature YouTube used to have. And I do believe that it was something that started off a big Kickstarter of, okay, what does the algorithm want people to view, and how do they want others to grow upon that channel. And it's one of those things where you have to really like, okay, this is where they started, and then we get into the other years where they have hashtags, and you get to add in other people and all kinds of indulging contents that really put stuff together. Just a whole bunch of stuff that I think made it very interesting. Yeah, I do think it's cheeks now. The algorithm has really changed it a lot, and it's different than it used to be back then. With views, it's how many views you get, obviously, and the likes and the exposure that the videos would get. Now it's the watch time and duration, and everybody I've seen struggling dealing with this at the same time, where views been dropping, where you see one popular video and it kind of goes down. And so that's why, like, when I see people with the streamer mindset, it just doesn't make any sense, because it's like, if somebody puts you on, it's like cool, but you have to stay relevant for a very long time. Like, God knows how much time you can keep that relevancy until something happens where you drop. And then once when you tank, people don't want to deal with you anymore. So I mean, the whole streaming universe, it's just the idea of like, oh, someone can put me on and I'll be able to be the best star in the world and be famous, and I don't really have to work as hard as that. I mean, I hope they don't have that, because it's like, yeah, I've had videos where everyone's have videos where they do well, and it's like, okay, what about the other videos? Like, you're gonna have one good video, and then the other video is gonna just drop down, and then you're gonna be stay low for a certain amount of time. Especially, someone puts you on, it's just like, damn, like this bro fell off, bro. What happened to your channel? And it's like, oh, I don't know. It's just, it's just like, no, it's the algorithm. That's basically just the algorithm. Boy, I can't even imagine that damn pressure to stay relevant. And this shit ain't even easy. It's at a point where, okay, somebody gonna put you on, oh, sign me up for a deal. But then if you don't have that consistency and that real drive and love for it and that passion, and you just see it from a money aspect, you're not really gonna find any enjoyment off of it. And at first I hear YouTubers and a lot of content creation will just talk about that. Yeah, you have to have some type of love, like no matter what you go through, you still have to keep going and keep dealing with it. But it's just a lot of, this generation now with content creation, it's just a lot of money involved. And obviously, things has changed. Like, I say the culture shifted where you can work 9 to 5. People don't want to work 9 to 5, especially if you're Gen Z or millennial. I'm Gen Z, and they figure out like 9 to 5s is not really the wave anymore, because when you work in a 9 to 5, it's just like, okay, like, you work somewhere that you hate, you probably have to have 2 or 3 jobs, and it's something that you really don't enjoy doing, or not even enjoy doing at that point. It's not even cutting the bills. It's like when you do something to make ends meet, at least you're making ends meet. At least you're able to do that and actually save and go above and beyond, because that keeps you going. It keeps you driven into going into the next level of your life. But with these jobs, it's like you're just working 2-3 jobs, and you're barely making it. You can't do anything. You can't save. You can't really, invest in other things. You can invest, but then you're not really gonna really enjoy anything. You can't go out. You can't do this. You're gonna have to be stuck in a box, grinding for however long you have to be, and you are gonna have to make that sacrifice. But when they see a lot of these, TikTokers, YouTubers living like this lifestyle with brand deals and recognition, and then the money that comes in, it's like, man, screw all that, we want to go do this. And of course, it got me too, where I was like, I've always had that love for it, but I have to keep switching back. It's like, okay, like, no matter what happens, you still have to have love for what you do, because it will show whenever you try to put out there. And it's one of those things where I gotta be honest, like, YouTube is one of those places where I want to be able to think long term instead of short term, just doing things that isn't for me, doing things that are, not part of my characteristics. Because it's just the Metroids are, the metric, I said Metroid, the metrics are different than how it used to be. Because man, you gotta do so many stupid things just to be famous and get, clout and all kinds of attention. Yeah, it may, get you somewhere, but at the same time, it's not going to be fulfilling for your soul. And it's same like a job. It's like you're not going to be fulfilled. So it's like you're going to meet up with that bottom line. If you're going to be fulfilled with something, you might as well go all in and be truthful. If this is the best way for me to make money, honest money, good money, too long term, I can definitely think about this and just keep going and actually have a profitable future off of whatever I'm doing, creatively and spiritually free. I think that's like the ultimate one right there. But being a streamer and doing all this content creation, and it is oversaturated as heck now. It is so oversaturated when it comes to just, everybody has to be this high energy and all, type of characteristics, and, all these editing styles. And, it's like, yeah, the opportunity is out there, but then you really have to go through and kind of fish out and filter out what you want to be the best out there, and at least to stand a good chance, because everybody wants to escape the rat race and not really have to work these jobs. And there was this big debate. I remember hearing off of a lot of streamers, they would say, which is harder, being a streamer or working a 9 to 5? Streamers would say streaming, and I do think that is true. Working a 9 to 5, it sucks, but at least you're getting paid at the end. You're putting in hours, 8 hours, however much hours you can for that particular shift, and by the end you're clocking in for some money. But with streaming, you could be doing that for hours, like hours out the day, out the week, and you barely make anything out of it. And you have to keep being consistent too, always being consistent. There's one thing of being consistent, but then also being smart to learning and picking up new skill sets, figuring out the game and learning what you can do. There's a whole bunch of stuff to get better, but yeah, I do believe that being a streamer is much more difficult. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is it very difficult to be a content creator in this day and age in the 2020s, or do you think it's the easiest time? Let me know what you guys think, and good luck, stay safe, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and peace.